No item of clothing is cooler than a good leather jacket, and we are at the headquarters of Cool at Schott, New York City, makers of America's most beloved leather jackets, with Jason Schott. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming to visit.
Thanks for coming to the place where you work. Yes, thank you for having me, is what I meant to say. What we're doing today, I think everyone wants to have like a cool leather jacket, but it can get kind of overwhelming because there's so many actual different kinds of leather you can make a jacket from. So like cowhide is one that a lot of people know about, but obviously there are actually less obviously, there are lots of different ways to process and tan cowhide to make like different feels. And also then there's like goatskin, which is really popular in old like World War II jackets. And you've also got lamb, which I have like 2 lambskin jackets myself. So what I want to do here is find out the best leather for leather jackets. And by that I mean the pros and cons of different kinds of leather for like different purposes, different lifestyles, that sort of stuff. So people know like the best leather jacket to get for themselves because it's a pretty serious purchase to make.
Let's talk about the difference between hides and skins, because you kind of talked about both of them. Okay. But in general, hides are your larger animals, which is your cow and your horsehide, which is another heritage leather that people are looking for often. Your skins are going to be your smaller things, lambskin, goatskin, sheepskin. There's all different kinds of weights of leather. One of the heaviest, this is a very special tannery from Chicago called Horween. And this is one of their signature products. This is a Chrome XL tan jacket. And as you can see, it basically stands up by itself. Not everybody wants a jacket that's gonna stand up by itself. This leather is 1.4 millimeters in thickness. It's like 4 to 4.5 ounces. And so for people who want that weight equals quality thing, something like this is a good way to go.
And you sell this as like a heavyweight jacket?
Yes, this is certainly, I mean, on our website, we do classify the heavyweight, the lightweight jackets. The contrast to this one will be the jacket that I'm wearing, which is, this is like my indoor leather jacket. It's unlined. We call this the Mission, but this is like 0.8 to 1.0 millimeter in thickness versus, again, this is like double the thickness.
And this is cowhide as well. This is like in between the two of them, right? This is like midweight?
Yes. Right. So the one that you're wearing, which is our style 530, is a midweight. It's in the 1.1 to 1.3 millimeter, but also, whereas it's been drummed. And so the process of milling the leather actually softens it up. So that's gonna be a lot easier to break in than something like the Chrome XL, which takes some time.
Right, so if you're just starting with cowhide leather, the idea here is that the animal isn't just what matters here, it's also the thickness is going to affect how it feels and how it wears, but also like the way it's processed as well, like if it's drummed, the way it's tanned and so on.
This is just one of those examples, but this is the naked cowhide, which is like 1 to 1.3 millimeter in thickness. But if you feel it, it's soft, and the reason is this is vacuum dried as compared to this leather, which is toggle dried. So the pebble cowhide, there's actually these toggles that they string it up to dry, and it kind of stretches the leather out, and it will soften it up, whereas this naked cowhide is vacuum dried. So they stick it in a vacuum, lowers the pressure, and it allows it to dry at a lower temperature, which preserves the leather but keeps that tensile strength. And so this is something that even between 2 different cowhides, you're gonna have a different experience. The naked cowhide is gonna take longer to break in. It also has a much smoother finish because it's not drummed and it's not toggled.
So who should and who shouldn't get like an ultra heavyweight one? I'm sure that's like very attractive to people, but like what are the pros and cons of like a real heavy jacket?
I mean, the first con of a heavyweight jacket is it's gonna take some time to break in. It's a lot like raw denim, where you're gonna feel it in your elbows a little bit, and it's not always the most comfortable to break in, but once it breaks in, once it molds to your body, you don't ever want to part with it. I mean, it's something that should last for decades, and once it's broken in, it's gonna exactly bend where you bend. It's just whether you're willing to put the time in to break something in that's really heavy like that.
So like lifestyle wise, a lot of people want to get like a heavyweight jacket. It's I would imagine you might say it's extra necessary for people who are, say, like going motorbike riding in their jacket, for example, and they might want more abrasion resistance, whereas like this jacket here, more comfortable, easy to break in, but it can get damaged more easily. Is that about right?
Yes, the lighter weight leathers are going to stretch out easier. And the thing about leather is it stretches, it doesn't always come back into place. And the lighter weight leathers, yeah, they're gonna stretch out more. They're also more prone to tearing over time. I mean, cowhide is a very strong leather, and so it shouldn't be a problem unless you get caught on a nail or something. Contrast that to like lambskin, which is nice and soft and is very good, but you have to handle it with kid gloves, literally. You have to take more care of it.
Okay, all right, so the weight of cowhide, you can get really thick. It's gonna be more durable technically, but it'll be a little less comfortable from the get-go, whereas the thinner ones, that's gonna be more comfortable from the get-go. It's gonna be a little bit like lighter feeling, of course, so it might be more comfortable in that regard, but it's like a bit more prone to stretching and tearing if you wear it very, very hard. But for the average everyday wear, the durability might not be quite such a concern as people think, right?
Yes, in general, cowhide is going to be very durable.
So the animal matters and the thickness matters, but there's also the idea of like how it's processed and stuff. We're not gonna get all into the chemistry of that, but that's like a good reason to like talk to Schott or your leather jacket manufacturer before you make your purchase, just to like answer some questions as to, okay, like is the way that it's made going to affect something like the sustainability or the durability or anything like that? Because there are ways that can vary, even just within the same animal. But cowhide is very strong, it's a very, very durable leather, and it is, it's the basis for like most really well-known leather jackets. Like for instance, the Schott Perfecto, which is the one that, it's Marlon Brando wore this, right? James Dean, all these guys. This is like the kind of signature jacket, which is a nice thick cowhide. Hey guys, this is me in the future. I just wanted to come in to note that when we were editing this video, I realized that we never discussed calfskin leather as an option for jackets. And I reached out to Schott and said, can I get your opinion on calfskin? We kind of forgot to talk about it. They said, yeah, we don't use calfskin. That's why we didn't bother talking about it. This is what they said. The reason we didn't discuss calfskin is because we don't use it. It's a very lightweight hide, so it's not something that we use often. If we want a lightweight leather, we usually use lambskin, which we did discuss. So that's kind of it. That's how she goes. And I did a little bit of extra research, and calfskin is very soft. But lambskin is softer, but lambskin is also like a little bit better in the cold. So it's not that calfskin is bad exactly. I think it's more that like lambskin it's as soft and like a tiny bit better in cold weather. So that's why you tend to see more lambskin than calfskin. Calfskin versus lambskin, not a gigantic difference. You can largely think the same thing of the two of them, I think. All right, and okay, back to you, Nick. Okay, so let's talk about some other animals. You mentioned lambskin earlier. Do you want to jump into lambskin? Do we have a lambskin jacket here?
This is a lambskin jacket.
Okay. Lambskin versus cowhide. Why would I want to pick one over the other?
Lamb is softer. It's a lot easier to break in. Mm-hmm. It has a really nice, clean look to it, and you can also get it in colors at times. I mean, for us, black is number 1, 2, and 3 for us, but it's really comfortable and easy to wear. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the biggest advantage of lambskin. You
said it was also very smooth. Like, is there less like a grain variation, that sort of stuff in lamb because it's younger? Like, I know it can be. I know you can often get like different looks in like the different panels on a jacket sometimes, like when the animal is older. When it's like younger, like lamb, is that fair to say you're going to get a more even appearance?
Yes, that is true. There's less damages in lambs. And, I think there's a little bit of crossover between lamb and sometimes sheep that's tanned like lamb, like Middle Eastern sheep. That it depends on what season you're getting the skins, but it's generally very clean. You had mentioned before about goatskin, and goatskin is definitely it's a traditional leather. A lot of the old military jackets were made in goatskin. I have a piece of goatskin here, and you can see and compare that. There's a very characteristic grain to it. It's very different than the lamb because it's got this very characteristic grain. It's also stiffer. It's very durable. Goatskin is definitely much stronger than lambskin, but it just, you have to be comfortable with that grain, because that's natural to it, whereas the lambskin is very smooth usually.
So when we're talking about like a goatskin jacket, yeah, like you said, they're really common in a lot of like old army jackets. Goatskin versus cowhide. I think that's a question that a lot of people have to ask themselves. Besides, maybe there's like a bit more grain variation in this sometimes. Are there any other like big differences? Would you say like goatskin tends to be stronger than, we'll just say like a midweight leather jacket and cowhide?
I would say pound for pound, goatskin is stronger. The fibers, the internal fibers are actually stronger in the goat than in the cowhide. It really just comes down to a comfort level with the grain.
So let's talk about sheepskin. Sheepskin versus cowhide versus lambskin. Like, what are some of the pros and cons?
So this is what we call leatherized sheepskin. The fur is the outside of the animal. So this is the actual fur of the animal. And then there's a top grain, which is the outside of the skin. So this inside part is called leatherized sheepskin because this is actually the suede side that's been finished as if it's the final leather. The reason why they did this goes back to when they were flying in bomber airplanes during World War II, where the cockpit had heat in it, but the wingers, the bombers were out on the wings, they didn't have any heat in that part of the plane, and they needed a really heavy jacket that was going to keep them warm. So the sheepskin, the fur actually kept them warm, but it also was moisture wicking, so it wouldn't get too hot, they wouldn't get too sweaty in there, and then the leatherized sheepskin was going to protect them against the elements. And so it's a very, very warm jacket.
So clearly a sheepskin jacket like this is ideal if like warmth is really what you're after from your jacket. Yes. Sheepskin also gets sold without all the wool in it as well, right?
Yes.
So if you're just getting like a regular leather jacket and it's sheepskin, like what are some pros and cons of that relative to cowhide or lambskin?
I think it's kind of that sheep is a middle level. It's not as strong as cow. It's not as nice as lamb. It's kind of a little bit in no man's land at that point.
Does it tend to be cheaper as a result?
It is
well, there you
generally
go.
less
All right.
expensive.
Well, that's the pro of sheep.
Yes, that's the bro.
Let's talk about horse. Horse is like a very popular. It's very beloved by a lot of folks, but you don't see it quite as often in American jackets. It's pretty popular in Japanese ones. But but Schott does sell some horsehide jackets. A lot of people in the fancy leather jacket world, the guys who really obsess about this, they'll think that horsehide is just like the end all be all, like the coolest and the thickest and the toughest. What do you think? Why should I get a horsehide leather jacket?
I think the number one reason why people want horsehide is to be a little bit different. I mean, honestly, I think we have to understand that there are still places in the world that eat horse. It's not typically done in the US, but our horsehide is coming from places where horse is still eaten, which is France and Italy and Japan. And, it was a leather that was used back in the old days when my great-grandfather started this company in 1913. And, the 20s and 30s, it was very common to see horsehide here. It's very rare now, and I think the people who want it, they appreciate the fact that it is very rare. Mm-hmm. It is very durable. It's very strong, and it will last for a long time. But I think you can get the same thing out of cowhide. It's a little bit special because it's much more rare.
Okay. Appearance and durability wise, like what do you think on relative to like a midweight cowhide like the one I'm wearing?
So much of that comes into the finishing. Sure. I've seen, this particular horsehide has a shine to it. Like it's got a high sheen, and this is our traditional horsehide. Mm-hmm. But I've also seen it done in other ways in different finishing where it really can be done, processed virtually the same as cowhide. It's a little bit denser, I would say, than cowhide, mm-hmm. And so it's not as spongy, I guess, is the way I would describe it.
Does that mean like it breaks in more slowly, that kind of thing?
It's stiffer, I think, in the beginning, but again, so much of that depends on the processing.
Okay, so we're done horse, sheep, lamb, goat, cow. I also want to quickly jump over. We got a couple other kinds of cow here. There's the famous Suede leather jacket, and this is a waxed Nubuck leather jacket. These are both ways of processing cow leather, but they obviously look very different. And like, what's the difference as far as like, durability and comfort with these two?
So the strongest part of the cowhide is the top grain. both the Suede or splits and the Nubuck, that top surface has been removed. And so on the Nubuck, the top surface has been partially removed and then it's oiled. And so this is going to be a softer leather, but it's also not as durable. And I think one of the things you have to be aware of, both of these leathers are going to be really comfortable from the beginning. They're very easy to wear, but they're not as strong. And you have to be conscious of the fact that these are not ones you'd want to necessarily be in the rain with, especially suedes and splits. I think it's important to treat them with something for water resistance because it could mark up the jacket. You can see raindrops in it. And if that happens, you can oil it, but it will darken the leather. So it's a little bit more maintenance with the splits and the suedes versus the Nubuck, which just throw some oil on it. It will darken it, but it kind of comes back to life.
All right. Okay, so to summarize, let me see if I've got this right. So there are thinner leathers like lambskin and like suede and nubuck. They're going to be more comfortable from the get-go at a slight sacrifice of durability. The stuff like suede nubuck, that's a bit more going to get in a bit more trouble in the rain, whereas like with the properly tanned like lambskin, that's still going to be fine and durable, just less durable than some of the bigger, thicker animals like cows and horse. Goatskin is very durable, actually, definitely on par with cowhide, but it's not quite as pretty looking. It's got the grain you have to think about there. Sheepskin, a little bit less durable and a little bit less pretty than these other leathers we mentioned, but it costs less as a result. And the thickness is an important part of durability, but also the way that it is tanned and processed is of paramount importance when you have questions about how it looks and how it's going to age and how comfortable it's going to be as well. So while the type of animal is very important, the way that it's processed can sometimes be more important than the animal itself that you have purchased. Does that sound about right?
That was very impressive.
Fantastic. All right, well look, that is our guide to how to pick the best leathers for your leather jackets. Schott NYC, they are in the link in the description below, and they just make the best leather jackets you can buy. I've had mine for many years and it has no signs of slowing down, and all I do is dream about getting a Horsehide one next. Yeah, subscribe here as well. We just went up here because we've got plenty more content about garments and footwear made to last. And yeah, stick around, we're gonna have another video cleaning and conditioning a leather jacket, so stick around for that. And Jason, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, it was my pleasure.
All right, thank you.